Hello, I'm Maurice Bernard. This is my official YouTube channel. I'll be keeping you updated with the latest news, so please subscribe to my channel. What truly caught my attention recently was the moment Britt realized that Cullum may already know the truth about Rocco being the one who shot him. That changes everything. Up until now, there was still uncertainty surrounding the investigation, and Britt could convince herself that maybe the truth would stay hidden long enough for the chaos to settle down. But once Cullum started connecting the dots, the atmosphere around this storyline completely shifted. Suddenly, Britt is no longer simply protecting a secret. She is trying to stop a catastrophe before it destroys multiple lives at once. And honestly, I think Britt is beginning to unravel emotionally in a way that she does not even fully understand yet. On the surface, she still appears sharp and controlled, but longtime viewers like me can see the cracks forming. She is carrying too much pressure. She is trying to protect Rocco, protect Danny, protect Jason's legacy, and somehow outsmart a man like Cullum at the same time. That is simply too much weight for one person to carry without eventually making a mistake. What makes this story especially fascinating is the role Cullum is now playing. I do not believe he is acting blindly anymore. Earlier, he seemed driven by anger and instinct, but now he feels methodical. Dangerous people become even more frightening when they stop reacting emotionally and start thinking strategically. Cullum now has access to information gathered by the PCPD, and I think he fully understands how powerful that information can become. He may not have every answer yet, but he clearly has enough pieces to start pressuring the people around him. That is why I found it incredibly interesting that Cullum appears ready to involve Britt directly in analyzing or interpreting the evidence connected to the shooting. To some viewers, that might seem like trust, but I do not see trust here at all. I see manipulation. I think Cullum wants to study Britt closely. He wants to see what rattles her. He wants to know which names make her nervous and which details cause her to panic. Men like Cullum do not ask questions unless they already suspect the answer. And the more Britt tries to protect Danny and Rocco, the more suspicious she may become in Cullum's eyes. That is the cruel irony of this entire situation. Sometimes the act of protecting someone becomes the very thing that exposes the truth. I also believe Britt is reaching the point where she may cross a line that she can never fully come back from. I truly think she is preparing herself to falsify evidence if necessary. Some fans may think that sounds extreme, but to me, it feels completely believable considering the emotional corner she has been pushed into. Britt understands that if the truth comes out publicly, Danny's life could be damaged forever and Rocco could carry emotional scars for the rest of his life. In her mind, protecting them may justify actions that she once would have considered unforgivable. That is where the story becomes emotionally powerful for me. Britt is not behaving like a traditional villain. She is behaving like someone who is terrified. There is a major difference between evil and desperation. Britt's decisions are being driven by fear, guilt, and emotional attachment, especially when it comes to Jason and everything he represents. And this is where I think Jason's shadow hangs heavily over the storyline, even though he is not physically present. Jason has always been the type of man willing to sacrifice himself to protect the people he loves. That sense of loyalty defined him for decades. Britt knows that. She understands how much family meant to him, especially Danny. I think part of Britt truly believes she is honoring Jason by protecting Danny at all costs. In her mind, she is preserving his legacy. But there is something tragic about that idea, too. Britt may be trying so hard to protect Jason's memory that she slowly loses herself in the process. That is the heartbreaking part of the story. Every lie she tells, every piece of evidence she manipulates, every risk she takes pulls her deeper into darkness. I also cannot stop thinking about Danny's emotional state in all of this. Danny has so much of Jason in him, and that worries me. Jason's greatest strength was always his willingness to sacrifice himself, but that was also one of his most destructive qualities. Danny may eventually decide he cannot allow Britt to keep risking everything for him and Rocco. If he discovers the full extent of what Britt is doing behind the scenes, I honestly would not be shocked if Danny tried to confess or take responsibility himself just to stop the situation from spiraling further out of control. Then there is Rocco, who might actually be the most tragic figure in this entire storyline. At the center of all this chaos is still a frightened young boy who never intended for events to become this catastrophic. One terrible moment created consequences far beyond what he could understand, and now the adults around him are turning that secret into something even larger and more dangerous. That has always been one of General Hospital's greatest storytelling strengths. The show understands how one emotional mistake can create waves that destroy entire families. What fascinates me most is how the writers seem to be exploring the psychological toll of secrecy rather than relying only on action or shock value. The tension here comes from emotional pressure. Britt is living every day knowing that one wrong move could expose everything. That kind of storytelling reminds me of older General Hospital eras where suspense came from emotional conflict instead of constant explosions and dramatic stunts. And honestly, I think Britt is already beginning to lose control without realizing it. Secrets in Port Charles have a pattern. First comes one lie, then another lie to protect the first one, and eventually the truth becomes so tangled that nobody can separate reality from deception anymore. Britt may believe she can manage the situation because she is intelligent enough to stay ahead of everyone else, but General Hospital has shown repeatedly that secrets eventually consume the people protecting them. I also think Cullum understands Britt far more than she realizes. He knows she cannot stay calm when Danny or Rocco are threatened. He knows emotional pressure is the fastest way to force mistakes. That is why I suspect he may not immediately expose the truth, even if he fully uncovers it. Someone like Cullum seems far more interested in watching people slowly collapse under pressure. He enjoys control. He enjoys psychological games. That makes him incredibly dangerous. At the same time, I cannot help wondering whether Britt eventually reaches a breaking point where guilt overwhelms her completely. How long can someone keep carrying this level of emotional burden before they finally crack? Can she really continue falsifying evidence and manipulating information without destroying herself mentally? Those are the questions keeping me deeply invested in this storyline. I believe the most powerful scenes are still ahead of us because eventually the emotional walls around Britt will begin collapsing. And when that happens, every secret she worked so desperately to protect could explode all at once. Danny could turn against her for lying. Rocco could be devastated by the truth. Cullum could gain even more power over everyone involved. And Jason's legacy, the very thing Britt is trying to preserve, could become permanently damaged by the choices she is making now. That is why I find this storyline so compelling as a longtime viewer. It is not simply about solving a shooting anymore. It is about how fear changes people. It is about how love can push good people into morally dangerous territory. And most importantly, it is about whether Britt can survive the emotional storm she has created before the truth finally comes crashing down around her. General Hospital has always been strongest when it focuses on flawed people trying desperately to protect the people they love. And right now, Britt represents exactly that kind of tragic complexity. I may not agree with every choice she is making, but I absolutely understand why she is making them. And in soap operas, those are often the most unforgettable stories of all. Thank you for watching my video. I will regularly update you with the latest news about the drama General Hospital, so please stay tuned.